Good evening, everybody. Tonight we're going to have a great conversation with Tony and Neil Stevens, brothers who represent the St. Thomas and Alphington divisions in the upcoming elections. And there are two men who have lived here all their lives. During our show tonight, we're going to be discussing a variety of local issues. And as last week, please field your questions to us and we'll get them answered along the way. But before we start, can I ask you to consider asking yourself one question? One simple question is whether you're happy or not. And I'm not talking about your personal life. I'm talking about how you interact with the environment, of how you go around Exeter, of whether you think you're getting value for money. Because I know a lot of people aren't happy. I'm not happy. And I know after speaking with a lot of young people, they're not happy either. And that's what troubles me the most is when young people aren't happy, that means that I'm not doing my job. I'm not leaving a legacy. We're not doing our jobs. We're not leaving a legacy for the next generation. This cannot continue. We've got to make a change. We've got to bring back common sense and make us proud to be part of this great city and give that legacy to the young people. So in the upcoming election on Thursday, I just want to let you know that a few years ago, and the last time we had the elections, only 42% voted. So don't be part of the 58% that didn't vote. Get out there and vote. Vote to make a change and vote for Tony and Neil and all of our Exeter reform candidates. Now, guys, you know I've only lived here for a few years. You've lived here your whole lives. Were things always this way? Tony, tell us what you've experienced.
Well, I led a normal child like everyone else. What I have noticed, though, is the change in Carrick Street. How the pubs and the garages have now gone, although there's still some lovely shops there. How other businesses have disappeared.
Well, so what we're really here for, guys, is we're trying to cover some subjects tonight. It's the first time my brother's been on, second time I've been on. My wife says to me, why politics? Why politics? You know, your midlife crisis, just buy a motorbike. Well, I haven't. I've passed my midlife crisis. I'm here to explain to you that this city is deteriorating. Alphington, Carrick,
St. Thomas and Exwick.
They're all deteriorating. All right. And we can run around and blame each other and do whatever, but we need to sort it out. So we're going to cover some subjects tonight. You might not like what we say, but we're going to cover these subjects. Okay. So on that, Rob, if we can start the same as last week, we're going to talk amongst ourselves. If you've got questions to ask away. Okay. We are reform, right? We've had negative and positive reviews. As we go along, let's just go with the flow.
I think what appeals to me, though, guys, is that you're two people that have lived here all your lives. And you're not professional politicians, but you know enough about what's been going on here to care and to be able to influence it now.
No, you're right. We're not politicians, and we're not pretending to be politicians. You know, if we look at, I read all the news nowadays, and I can see the politicians, and quite bluntly, people said I shouldn't call them, but they're liars. Labour, Conservative, whatever you want to call it. All right, do not do what they say. I mean, if you want to go over it, right? All these have been delivered to your houses. They've all promised you everything. We'll talk about one quote from Labour, deliver better value for taxpayers' money. We'll come to that in a minute. Tony.
Well, it's true. They make all these promises when the elections are coming up, but nothing ever materialises. Well, and it's all forgotten about as well.
And it seems it doesn't matter, apparently, whether it's 1 year, because it's like a revolving door. 1 year it's Conservatives, Labour,
Well, they blame each other. They blame each other. We talk about potholes. Everybody covers potholes in the manifest. Even we cover potholes in the manifest. We do about the buses. Everybody talks about the buses. We talk about how money's being spent, how money's being wasted. Labour blame Devon County Council being run down by the Conservatives. Well, we'll look at both of them tonight and let's see who is to blame. All right, reform. Reform is here to change everything. The system is broken. It needs to be changed. Whether you like it or not, whether you're Labour, Conservatives, Lib Dem, Green, we are one big family. All right, we live in this country. Doesn't matter what colour you are, whatever. We need to change. The system isn't working.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about the council, because you're standing for the Devon County Council.
That's
What
correct.
are the finances like? Is there a shortfall? How big is it? Let's talk through those.
Yeah, well,
issues.
we covered it last week. I think Devon County Council owe £467 million. The interest rate alone is £53,000 per
A
day. Devon, Cornwall, Tony.
I believe Cornwall's in the hundreds for interest.
It's £147,000 a day interest. All right, let's just look at it. And I'll quote from a guy. I spoke to a guy this morning called Tim, right? And he just gave me some, what he felt. And he said, it's easy to spend somebody else's money. But that money you're spending is hard-earned money.
And the thing is, Neil, you know from your, at least I know from my finances, I've been around long enough, is when you start spending money excessively and you build up money on your credit card, you have two problems. You have to first stop spending anymore because the problem will get worse, and then you have to pay off. So that's the double whammy that the council seems to be faced with, right?
Yeah, well, so everybody thinks they can run a business, and I'm not saying that I can run a business, right? But why are these councils, and we're not looking at one, actually, if you add all the councils up in this country, it doesn't matter who runs it, okay? They reckon by 2027, I think it's roughly £5.2 billion. Billion pound will be owed. Now, all that is got to be paid off, interest, and that's all your taxpayers' money. And that's before you fill a hole in.
Yeah. And the thing is, also, you know what happens when you're a bad credit risk? Your interest rate goes up.
Yeah,
Banks
interest
will
rate.
charge you more, of course, because
course,
you're
yeah.
riskier customer. So it's, if the council doesn't get a handle on it, if we don't get you guys in there to be a catalyst, not only is the deficit going to get worse, but it's going to be higher because of the interest rate will be increased because there'll be a higher credit risk to the banks.
We're talking about, I'm standing and Tony's standing for Devon County Council to be councillors. I know it's going to be like pushing a stone up or a rock up a hill. All right, the more councillors we can get in, right, and whether you like Nigel Farage or not, let's talk about Nigel Farage. Right, he came to X the other day, and he's been on the TV lately, and some people said, I can't vote for you, Neil. You seem a nice person, but I can't vote for Nigel Farage. Well, let's be blunt. I'm not Nigel Farage. I'm not saying I agree with every policy that he does, but what I will say, he will give you an answer to a question. So when you give him a question, he will answer it directly. All right. Whether you like that answer, that's your...
He's straight talking.
Straight talking, yeah.
Yeah.
So straight talking. But, you ask, Keir Starmer a question or any politician, and you must notice it.
Yeah.
They go round and round and round, but they don't answer the question. Some of the questions are simple, Tony.
Well, one of them was, what's a woman, isn't it?
Yeah, but I'm not going to go on that subject. But basically, some of the answers are yes and no. I mean, it's very simple. Yes or no.
Yeah. You know what? Wasn't it in 2011 that the Labour government wrote?
Yeah, that's a famous story, actually.
Says, there's no more money in the till. But now here we are in 2025, and it's not only no more
I
money in
do
the till, but
believe
we have
they
huge deficits.
sold all our gold reserves.
So it doesn't matter if it's Labour or Conservatives. It's
Right, so we're here to try and convince you to vote for us. All right, so I'm going to repeat this message more than once. If you're happy with the status quo, if you're happy the way things are, then you stick to what you're going to vote. I can't change your opinion. All right, you change your own opinion. But I'm telling you, I am not happy. I am not happy for my grandchildren. You happy for your grandchildren?
No, I'm not. No, I don't see a future with them at the moment.
Right.
What they've got.
well, it didn't used to be this. I don't remember.
No, do you know, it was a good memory the other day. We went, whoever organised it in Pincers Gardens last year, I take my hat off to them. I expect there was more than one person. It was a Punch and Judy show. It had tents, marquees. You could buy ice cream. People were selling their pictures and their wear and all the stuff you get at a circus. You know, things you throw up in the air and all that, and bouncy
Well, it got the
balls.
community out, didn't it?
Oh, well, I turned around and I looked around and I thought, this just reminded me of the old days. You know, I know St. Thomas Church do it.
Yeah, I mean, down the side that I live at, which is near the park over off Carrick Street, they've got a big festival coming up, and I know the church held a festival the other time with all the handicraft stuff, and that was very popular.
Oh, so these are very good memories. But looking back to Devon County Council, why do we owe that much money? Now, I also know that Labour and the councillors, whether you're Labour or Conservative, voted, to save money. And they voted to deduct all this money from services, you know, the vulnerable, the handicapped. Guys, do your research. It's unbelievable. If you do your research and just dig deep into how these you can call it a company, but local authorities are run, it's a disgrace.
What didn't we used to have some e-bikes? What happened to those? Anybody?
Oh, yeah, okay. Let's go back to Exeter City Council. Exeter City Council, do you remember you looked at the building company they had?
Yes, I did look at that, and I believe 10.5 million.
Yeah, 10.5 million pound of your money, right, was wasted. 10.5.
How did they do that?
They started a company up. It was a good idea, so they thought it didn't work out. They lost a lot of money, and they've either written it off, all right, but the company has been wrapped up. All right, that's 10.5.
They tried to be a building company.
Yeah, trying to be 10.5. Well, these schemes they're inventing or they're coming up with, let's look at the share a car. Is it share a car, Tone?
Car share.
Was it car share, Rob? Was it? Share. Yeah. Well, I think there were electric cars, electric bikes. Yeah. All right. There's one down where we live, and there's various spaces.
No car.
What happened to them? What happened to the car?
Exeter must be the only city now without, a bike sharing scheme.
Yeah,
every other city
I'm shocked at that too. The fact
well,
that we're a big student population.
Well, it's a great idea, but it didn't work out for what they were charging, whatever. Yeah, I mean, the only things that are happy now is the pigeons because they can land there quite safely because you can't park in them spaces. You get a ticket.
If you have a bike sharing scheme around a city, then you don't have people driving their cars in, and creating a bunch of smog and pollution.
Well, it's we got to be realistic. We've got to be realistic, all right? Yeah. So there was money lost, and all I'm saying to you is Labour throw mud at Conservatives. Let's move on. Yeah, we've covered that subject. Which one we're going to cover now?
Okay. Well, I think it'd be great to talk about what we started off talking about, really, which is...
Stop. None of it's working. So none of that come out.
We're just in a temporary pause, guys. Technology issues going on here. But everything's good, and we can talk about, I think we should focus on household bills next, because that's really a killer for everybody, really. And while we're waiting on the technology, we can talk through that so that we're ready to roll, right? Because we might be
just bear with us, guys. We don't know what the technology is. A problem with it, and if you can hear us or whatever, we're not going to start a game. We're going to go with the flow, but we'll see how it works. So bear with us. Okay, we're back on now. Okay, just bear with us, guys, because there's a technical glitch here. Where do we start from? Okay, so we're back online. So we're not going to harp on about Devon County Council and Exeter City Council.
Let's talk about some issues where everybody cares about. One member of my family just moved into a very small studio flat, and you would not believe what the bills were like. Water bills.
All right, let's go down the road of. All right, let's be realistic. It affects everybody in Exeter. It affects everybody in the country. Totally done it.
It does, yeah.
Yeah. So you've got Keir Starmer saying council tax bills won't go up, if I remember, and if you get them, you can rip them up. Well, you rip them up, you'll get a bailiff's or you go to court, you get the bailiffs coming along, and if you don't pay it, they'll just take things or even jail you. So let's be realistic on that. Right. So how much? Right. This figure's in my head. Council tax has gone up 60%.
I think it's gone up about £125 a year.
Right, it's since 2012 to now, council tax has gone up by 60%. Ironically, I ask you a question. How much is the staffing level of Devon County Council gone up?
I'm going to take a guess at 59%.
59%. So we've got more staff.
Yeah.
Right, and I'm not knocking Devon County Council, but I will say things people won't like. All right, and what I will say about Devon County Council, I know there's people in there who work really hard. They work really hard. But I also know there's people in there who don't work hard. All right, I know that there's managers on top of managers, and we'll talk about the health authority in a minute. All right, so there's a lot of people aren't pulling their weight. And a lot of people, whether you like it, you're working from home. And I'm not taking, what do they say? If the hat fits, wear it.
Yeah. Hey, Tony, this is something that we haven't talked about before, but I seem to remember going down Cow Street, right? And there's some beautiful old buildings along there, really stunning buildings. Yeah. And I think one of them was like a magistrate's court, and one of them was
I think we're talking about the firehouse.
Council office and fire
only
station.
Like 5 rooms.
I think that's the firehouse. Which the council are now trying to sell.
Why are they trying to sell?
I think they're just trying to offload their assets. Where the money goes to if they do sell it, I don't know, but. They're also trying to sell the library, of course.
Well, yeah, but it'd be interesting to see, council taxes go up. All right, I understand inflation, but it goes up 4.9%, right? But your services go down. I know somebody was complaining about his bin. He had a crack in the bin, so it was a black bin, large bin. He rung them up. They come along, swap the bin round for a small bin. And he said, well, I got a family.
Yeah.
And he said, well, you got to have either 5 or 6 people in your family. And they got a baby.
Yeah.
All right, so your service is going down. All your toilets are being sold off. I don't know if you've all noticed, guys. Walk around. Everything's for sale. All right, what's been sold? Clifton Hill. Once you sell them, you never get them back.
What's Clifton Hill?
Clifton Hill.
It's a sports complex, which just deteriorated, and the council said...
Well, they let it deteriorate.
Yeah, too expensive to repair, but it is good building land.
So
it has been sold.
Yeah, going back to memories, I remember in school we used to go up there because they had skiing, that was a good one. And they also had a running track, and all the schools used to meet there, and it's just lovely. And, I've been told that and anybody wants to contradict me, I'm quite happy. I've been told that the council allowed the leak in the roof. They didn't want to repair it, so it would deteriorate. Well, that's gone now. That's sold to developers. The question is, where's that money going?
Yeah. Well, let's come back to the household bills we were talking about. One of my pet peeves is the electricity that just goes insane. I think we're 19% this year for.
If you look at it, electric, we get, I think, 13 to 16% power from abroad, but and gas, we don't get very small. But because we're still tied into the grid, all right, of the Europe, when they put it up, we put it up, and they blame the crisis. They blame the Ukraine and all that. But let's look at it. You tell me something that hasn't gone up. All right, gas has gone up, electric's gone up, water's gone up, council tax has gone up. Your phone, using your mobile phone's gone up, and I could go on and on and on. Yeah. And they have the cheek, right? I would invite a lady on here called Jess, and she can't come on because she's doing my social media behind us, right? And if I did bring her on, she would swear. Her nan, okay, has got multiple illnesses, but she needs to keep warm, all right? They took that money away. 10 million people. Now, the excuse is, well, some people don't need it. Well, I think that's poor. Yeah, winter fuel allowance. Yeah. Let's be honest. These guys have worked, and I think I brought this up last week. They've worked all their life.
Yeah. Well, you know, the thing is, Neil, this winter fuel allowance, they took that away, and they also, I think they increased the inheritance tax on farmers, right? And anyway, that was to fund what they call a 20 billion pound black hole. But guess what? You know how much the government's borrowing per year? It's not 20 billion pounds, it's 175 billion pounds. So there really wasn't a black hole that they're referring to.
But no, you're totally correct.
Yeah.
And the more you dig deep, and let's stick to this area now, like let's stick to Alphington, Carrot, Exeter, Devon County Council. All I'm saying, guys, you know, you can vote Labour, you can vote whatever you want, but don't stand there and say you know what's happening. Do your research. There's so much source out there will tell you how it's being wasted.
Yeah.
All right.
But what I'm, you know, I guess what the point is that several people, I think, or the takeaway I think several people should have out of this anyway, Neil, is that the national issues affect us locally. You know, if you're going to, you know,
Well, right. Water rates. Who's got the most dirtiest water in this country?
Well, I would say us, because most of it ends up in the sea, doesn't it?
Well, Southwest. You know, I think one of the articles brought up by Ed, which is a candidate, he was going down the River Ex. There's floating
plastic.
Well, more than plastic. I can't even, and it's disgusting. All right, so how much is that company boss, water boss, getting paid?
Probably about 200,000 a year, I would have said.
1.4 million.
Oh, is it? I wasn't even close.
Dividends. I did know the company. How much dividends are they
Gotta
paying
be
out?
A performance.
How much dividends are they paying out to shareholders? 24.7 million pound. But nobody minds making. You pay in, you get dividends and all that. But they're on about this new law now. They're on about this new law if they're holding companies to account, or the chiefs. I will tell you this: nobody will be jailed, and when they're fined, who pays that fine?
We do, because the bills go up.
I know so many people that tell me that they can't go swimming in Exmouth because they got to check the tide because they're concerned with the sewage.
Depends which way it's going.
Well,
Don't you heard?
You're going back in the past. We used to go down the basin, down the river, or down the basin, which is canal, and we used to go and swim in there. You wouldn't swim in there now. You'd pick something up. The quality of water, I mean, and they got cheap. And that's a good reminder. Spotted in Alphington. I read an article on Spotted in Alphington where somebody was saying about how much their water has gone up, and then it just ricocheted with all the comments. All right.
It didn't used to be this way, I'm sure, right, guys? I mean,
well, obviously when I was young, I didn't pay any bills, but I've never heard my family or my parents, moaning about where they're going to find the next bit of money. And let's be realistic. It never seemed to be like that in them days. People worked hard. They paid the bills, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. Yeah.
Yeah. Now all we seem to be doing.
It was a shock to me when I first bought my house, had all the bills coming in.
Oh, I just feel
more
sorry.
of a shock now to see them increasing the way they do. And obviously, you have to work harder to pay them.
We just got a question from the audience. Can
Yeah.
we,
and keep the questions coming in with
yeah.
we whatever we say you might not like, but so be
actually,
it.
just like the last time, I'm thrilled by a lot of the people who are happy to give their name, and this is from David. And apologize, guys, you're not going to know every answer, okay? But it says, how much is Exeter City Council in debt? Now, I know that you guys are standing for Devon County Council, so you may not know that answer.
Well, I know a bit of an answer, actually. I think, and don't quote me on this,
Thank you, David.
but they actually managed to get their books in order near the end. Okay? All right, they got their books in order. Now, you could all give them a clap, all right? But let's be realistic. They've lost a lot of money on these schemes. Okay? So that 10.5 million's gone.
Yeah.
The bikes. Well, I've heard the bikes are locked up down Marsh Barton. All right? So they're down there somewhere, the bikes. All right? So they might have balanced the books. All right? But did they balance the books by selling? I'm not saying this is correct. Did they balance the books by selling Clifton Hill, selling all these assets? They're going to sell now in Topsham Road the registrar office. I mean, that building's beautiful.
It is beautiful.
All right. I don't know.
Yeah.
Do we technically, Exeter City Council, do we own that because we pay them? I don't know how it works. So going back to Firehouse, Tony, you said it, come up with that idea.
Well, my idea was, they're also selling the library in Church Road. But if you put that money that you get for the library and the building land beside it, you put the library in the firehouse, make it into a drop-in centre as well.
That's a great idea.
Get help the aged in.
Yeah.
Use it for what it's meant to be used for. At the moment, it's empty. I've got very much doubt that there'll be any council tax being paid on it because it is empty.
But why pay council tax?
But why are they letting it get into disrepair?
You know,
It's not an asset somebody really wants to buy because it's designed to do what it is.
So going back to David's question is, and this is not, if I vaguely remember, they managed to balance the books, but I question how they managed to balance the books after they wasted so much money. Well, that might be a political answer. I don't know, but that's only what I know.
One way you can observe someone's mismanagement is in the simple ways. You can take a look at their, the building on the Exeter City Council building anyway. On
it's
Street,
empty. It's near enough empty. Everybody's working from home.
Everyone's working from home on that
I
one.
mean, it needs serious cleaning and landscaping. They can't even, that's cheap stuff.
But did I mention about I made a phone call to the planning office today?
No.
I made right in the old, I always say the past, right? You can ring up Exeter City Council, lovely people, by the way. Everything I've dealt with and their people, they're very nice. Yeah. But I rung up planning day just because I rung them up to see if I could permission last week to put my signs out. I would shove over to Devon County Council. Anyway, I was shocked. On their message, planning is open only Monday, Wednesday and Friday between 1 and 4 o'clock. Well, we've got all this increase of staff. You should better pick that phone up and answer it like you used to.
Yeah. And something yesterday, because I'm working with several candidates, I got an email from a really great person in the council, and there were mistakes in the Excel spreadsheet. Why? Because she's using a version that's 17 years old. They haven't updated their systems.
Yeah, but if they do update it,
mistakes and apologizing.
But if they do update it, it's going to cost them billions because they find the wrong person, do the wrong contract,
I guess
and then it falls
here,
down.
Right? Is it didn't used to be this way. We got ourselves in a pickle now. We need some change here. And it needs to not only stop the bleeding, but we need to repair the wound, right?
Right, going back to reform, Nigel Farage did come down here and I had the pleasure of meeting it, and I asked him a direct question. I said, are you still standing by what you said to us? If we take control of Devon County Council or whatever council we take control of, will you still send in the auditors? He said, yes. So before you can get that business running, you need to find out where it's gone wrong. So you need the auditors in. And I'll tell you something, I would put my house on it. You would find a lot of contracts which shouldn't be being paid out.
Yeah. Hey, Neil, that's a great answer. In fact, it's it's interesting because the last episode that we did, we had maybe 10 questions, and they were questions which, we were just discussing. And can I give you one that Pete has given us here? He said, which kind of flows into what you were saying. He says, if elected, how will you both make a tangible difference? Well, I think you just hit on part of it, Neil, didn't you? Where you need to send in the auditors, and find out where's the money gone, where's the inefficiency. Does that make sense?
Well, I think so, yeah. I mean, you've got to find out where the money's gone, wherever any backhanders have been paid, and what difference we'll make. Well, we're not politicians, but we can't be bought. We can't be swayed. And we're there to sort of...
Well, you're not part of a big machine either.
No, we're there to hopefully do the best.
New blood.
For the areas we're representing.
If I could say, Tony, how many councillors are there that lived in the area for, I don't know, you look like a young man, but...
I am.
He didn't call me that, did you?
You and Neil have been around a while.
Well,
I call these laughter lines, actually.
I'm slightly older than Neil, so obviously between Alphington and St Thomas, all my life.
If you guys don't know the issues and care enough, because you know something, audience, wherever I go in, this local area, everybody knows these two guys.
It's like I said last week, we're not career politicians. I'm here. I've got the best present I've ever got. I've got 2 lovely grandchildren, and they're my life. All right. So I will sacrifice my time now, all right, in order to give them a better life. Yeah. And I don't care if you're Labour, Liberal. Tony, you don't care?
I'm not partial to any of it, no.
And could I just raise maybe two sort of related issues
Yep.
that I know we covered them last episode, but not everybody, looked at the first episode. But the first thing is, how many other candidates are doing what you guys are doing? This is innovation, and I think you've committed to doing this, every week or periodically after you're elected, which you will be elected, so that there's transparency and we can get questions like Pete has given us and, David's given us. We're going to get more, I'm sure, right, Jess?
Right. I can't tell the
That's a good
future.
example of your innovation.
I
your
can't
care
tell the
for
future
community.
whether, I'm hoping we're going to get elected. But what I will say to you guys, this will come out once a week. Right? We will hold Devon County Council, Exeter City Council accountable. Okay? Accountable. Right? What I also will say to you is, when I was in the army, everybody up the top knew what they were doing. Everybody at the bottom, people like you and I, didn't. What I also will say to you, for every meeting and every action and everything that happens, it will be relayed through this system. And I made that promise. Tony?
I do as well, yeah.
And I know, I'll give you an example, guys, of how these guys operate, okay? And part of it's geared around this theme that I was kind of outlining is, everybody knows you guys. That's a great thing. It could also be, it means you have to deliver, frankly. And I remember when I first came here a few years ago, Neil, you introduced yourself to me and you said, Rob, anything that you need, just give me a call. And sure enough, I was finishing the renovation on my house and I needed help. I called Neil. He was over there within about 5 minutes.
Yeah, and I remember that. But there's a good, interesting question that Tony used the other day, backhanders. Okay, and I had my crew behind the team, behind this, which you will meet next time, giving it, whoa. Okay, let's flick subjects. Let's go back to the build in Alphington. Okay, the buildings, all the buildings. All right, we all know about the school. Right, the school apparently should have had, in this example, a bit of timber should have had 20 screws in it, only had 5. Apparently it's sinking. It is sinking. Okay, when it all come to light, the building company gone bust.
Which building was this, Neil?
The school. The school in Alphen, the new school.
The new school.
Or the new school, they've gone bust. Okay, all right. So who's going to foot the bill to repair that? And I would say it's you. But let's break it down, what Tony said, backhanders. Okay, when you build a house, you've got to dig the foundations. Who comes out to check the foundations?
Mm-hmm.
The council.
The council does, yeah.
Every stage, it gets checked.
Yes.
So somewhere, somebody has to be accountable for it.
Mm-hmm.
All right,
That's
and
the
if you're on
reason why they
about
exist.
jailing people,
Yeah.
this is millions of pounds wasted. Somebody has to be accountable. All right, they can jail the waterboard people, which I believe it when I see it, but needs to be accountable for. It's, I could harp on and on and on, all right? But going back to Alphington, GPs, Tony?
Well, I mean, from what I've heard, you've got all the other doctors' surgeries having to take on the new build people.
Yeah.
They're being forced to do it.
Well, yep.
And you're talking hundreds of people, so that's already swamping the system that's already overloaded.
Yeah.
Well, I've been told, and I'm happy for somebody for the St. Thomas group, the surgeries over there, that they have been told they have to take these new, and I think, quote me, 3,000, 6,000, don't quote me. If somebody wants to tell me online, all right, they've got to absorb these people. When that is finished, the next one has to absorb it, and the next one. I think there's only 4 in there, and the pledge is about, extra dental treatment. Well, there's no extra dentists.
Yeah.
So how are they going to do it?
Yeah.
All right, so it's all rubbish, right? So they are going to build a surgery. You've heard
They
about
are
that.
going to build a surgery, and I do believe it's going to have limited parking spaces as well. I don't know where they're going to build it, but I'm assuming it's going to be somewhere in the new build area. Hopefully not near the school, of course, that's subsiding.
Yeah. Well, maybe not in your area, but it's the concept of absorbing seems to be all over the place, because I tried to make a reservation at the Hampton Inn Hotel by the airport, from some of my family. I said, Okay, well, is there any May? No, June. It's booked up for the whole year. And
Yeah, we
the
won't.
locals-
We're not going to go down that
Okay, I
road
agree, yeah, I agree,
because
but,
we're local issues. We already know why the hotels are being
but
booked
that's
up.
in Cranbrook, I think. Right?
Yeah, Cranbrook. Tony, give an example about the hotel.
Well, I've just come back from my son's wedding. I booked a hotel quite a while ago, and only to find it was cancelled
But
3 weeks ago. Because
let's go back to Alfreton, Cowick. You were on about the
the firehouse.
firehouse. No, you was on about the Exwick traffic.
Oh, yeah, some of the things that are cropping up in Exwick, people are telling me, are the speeding situations. Gloucester Road being one, and one of the Exwick roads, which I can't remember now, being another. How the cars are speeding down with schools nearby, and how can you deal with it, without spending too much money, of course, because we don't have the money
Yeah.
to spend.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, but years ago they used to have police. What do they call it? PCSOs or something?
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
Yes,
They used to be out in the community and all that, and you'd see them, and people would, toe the line a little bit more. I think probably right. Are they still around?
Well, I've not seen them for quite a while, although there was an article quite recently where they actually said meet the new team of community policemen, but I've never really seen any.
But I call this gimmicks in my eyes.
Yeah.
I mean,
But
over
council
the
tax
years.
goes up.
Yeah.
It's actually on there. You're paying more for policing,
Yeah,
but we're not having any extra police out of it.
yeah.
So I don't know.
Right. So where are the police? All right. So you've all heard the news. Somebody writes something. Oh, that's never Lucy Connolly. She wrote something stupid. Whether you like it or not, she said it was stupid. Within 2 hours, she apologised. And I know what people are going to say. She shouldn't have wrote it. Well, she shouldn't have wrote it. We all agree with that. But does a mother of 2 children, should she have been given 31 months? 31 months of writing something. What do they say? Sticks and stones may break your bones. All right, but we'll stick to where we're on the next subject.
Yeah. Well, we're talking about, the council tax and the cost of living and how things, have changed. They're not the way they were when you guys were young. I mean, one thing that kind of sticks in my mind, like I say, I haven't been here long, but I like walking around and driving around the area. And if you go around the roundabout at the River X, there's this naked tree there.
I think you mentioned that last week. Yeah,
right.
but if you drive around now, all the verges are not being cut. If I'm right, everything's subcontracted out now. All right. In the old days, you used to have people who worked for the council. They were skilled, qualified people. They can do the carpentry, they can cut the grass, or different various peoples, and they can keep this city clean. All right.
I mean, there's the other one, isn't it? When's the last time you've seen a road sweeper?
Well, yeah, exactly. And many people have said to me, "Where's all the bins gone?" You get a famous saying, "Where's all the poo bins gone?" How many dogs are in the city? I've investigated this, and they said you can take your poo home. Well, I've walked along, and people, and I don't know why they do it, they hang it in trees. They put it on railings. They don't pick it up. So why aren't we having the bins? Why have they gone?
Guys, we have a question from Robert. Can I read that out?
Yes, you may.
He's saying, he's asking, what will you do about the drug dealing in flower pots? I don't really understand.
Well, flower pots is my side. That's more police patrols, isn't it? If Robert's aware of it, then surely the police should be aware of it.
But what is a flower pot?
Flower pots is an area just off Oakhampton Road. It's
see.
basically a walkthrough that takes you through to Exwick. It's just one of those areas. I mean, the police must be aware of it, and really, it's for them to deal with.
Okay.
It'd be interesting, the statistics.
Well, isn't that, answering this question, isn't that related to the theme that we need to hold them to account?
Remember the police, civil servants, they do a fantastic job. I'm not going to knock any of them. I respect, but I dare say they've been told by a higher regime or higher people what they can do and can't do. Right? But statistics, it'd be very interesting to see how many shoplifters have been caught. Right, how many speeding cameras have caught the fines? Many people in Alfreton have complained about the new yellow cameras. By the way, government own them, not Devon County Council, but they get a commission. Right, so statistically, where are all the police gone?
Yeah, I mean, one way to do it would be to have a regular meeting with the police, and each one of you two to
Well,
Yeah.
to get
talk
the
about the
updates like
local
the
issues
situation in
and
flower
challenge them.
pots.
And
Well, what we would do, like I said, this is going to go out once a week. We will invite various people onto this show. Various people, and it doesn't matter who they are, it will be thrown out and they will come on the show and the questions can be answered. Police chief, anybody who wants to come on there are welcome. All right. And I don't care if you vote Labour, Conservative, Liberal. Like I said before, we are all the same nation. All I want, all Tony wants, everybody wants this country, this city to be lovely. We can't go back in time, but what we can do is stop it getting worse.
I think that's a great idea, Neil, because you know something. It doesn't matter whether you're Labor or Lib Dem or Conservative or Reform. We're all extra residents. We're all British, and I think that's a great idea. For example, if you were to invite someone, from the police on, you could hear their side of the story. They could say what problems they have, and that way, our whole audience would be able to see and witness that, and you'd be able to help solve the problem, because they have problems as well,
Yeah, it'd be interesting to climb into somebody's how they feel, because many Labour supporters have felt they've been let down. Okay, well, I think if you vote Conservative, you're just wasting your vote. They've had 14 years to get this country sorted out. Labour had the chance before that, all right, and what's happened? Everything's going up. So why don't you take a chance? Why don't you change the status quo? All right, the status quo is we need to change, right? And if you don't like us, you can vote us out. In fact, if you don't like us, tell me to resign. I don't care, right? But what I need to do is make you realise that Reform are just normal people who want this country, want our city to just be safe, clean, tidy. Pinch's Gardens. Somebody has put these lovely posters up about the history. The history. All right. It used to be greenhouses all the way around there and all that, and places you could walk. It's still lovely. Somebody has graffitied it. And I say to that person, come on the show. Tell me why you graffitied it. And I'd love to have your answer.
Yeah.
All right. But going back to Reform, we are all British people who want good lives. And that's what I say.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
We want change.
Yeah, but what? Yeah, go on.
Well, no, we want change. I mean, I always think enough's enough. If you don't want to do anything, then what's going to happen on the next election or next year?
Well, I got a better
the next set
argument
of
than that,
councillors,
though.
it'll be the same situation.
Yeah.
It'll
I
be
think
the
what you're
same
saying-
three.
Or isn't what you're saying is we're sort of fed up, I think, with what the status quo. We all know that there's something wrong, and what do you have to lose by voting for Reform?
Well, exactly. You've got nothing to lose. It can't get any worse.
Well, you say that, right? Everybody listens to the news. The propaganda which is being shoved out,
Yeah.
right, is unbelievable.
You told me something that happened yesterday. What was that, Neil? About was this local politicians was saying about wasn't saying anything about the Conservatives or
Oh, right, yeah. So if you talk
Remember
to,
that?
if you go into all these things, nobody's talking about Reform.
No.
Nobody.
Yeah.
Why? Okay. Steve
They wanna
Race,
give it
I
airtime.
don't know the gentleman, and I'm not going to throw mud at the gentleman. Okay. But he doesn't come from Exeter. All right. He does not come from Exeter. Okay. He rents a flat here. Okay. Who is Steve Race? I'll tell you another thing, actually. Everybody I've spoke to, I've asked, who is your MP? Nobody knows him. Nobody knows him. All right. But he managed to come in on Exeter on Saturday, and his message was Exeter is reform free. Keep it that way.
Yeah.
Well, is that
So,
what?
I mean-
Why? I don't say say Labour. I don't vote Labour. I
Yeah,
mean,
well, he knows that the other parties are they're useless.
well, I think they're
So,
scared of change.
yeah,
They're
yeah.
scared. They
Yeah.
don't want to change because they live
Yeah.
their comfortable lives, all right, and it's all going on. So they don't want to change.
Yeah. I know you didn't want me to say this, Neil, but you know, when you take a look at the other candidates across the Exeter branch area, okay, for at least we're in, they all seem to be tagging. They never really are really out there alone doing what you guys are doing. You know, they're always tagging along with Steve Race and in a big mob. You know?
Yeah, I'm not going to go down because I don't
know
know individuals, and I don't think it's fair that I could actually.
I think it's strange that they can't stand on their own 2 feet and articulate what their vision is like you guys are.
Yeah, no, all I'm saying is the MP of Exeter, you know, my mother, who's 80-something, she reads the news every day, and I asked her as well, and she didn't know.
I must admit, I didn't know either. So.
Well, I have to tell you the truth, I did actually, but I can't tell you that because I've done my research on him.
It's pretty transparent if you want to dig into it. You go to the electoral roll, you'll see where the MP lives. You know,
wow.
so
Yeah, we'll put, but
We
you
can't
know,
say that.
okay, it's a teeny place, so something's up there.
yeah, so you know, we could harp on and harp on. Everybody's going to make your own minds up. But going back to it, Tony, I just can't believe in the general election, only 33% voted.
And it'd be interesting to see the age groups of the ones voted because I think the younger generation just don't bother anymore.
Well, there was
And
survey.
you think that
Yeah,
younger
that's
generation will be
changing.
the older generation
Yeah.
coming through.
Well, there was an interview on the radio. I don't know which one, Devon Air or Devon Live. I don't know which one, but they interviewed 18 to 19-year-olds, and they've lost interest. They don't care, right? But now Labour are going to drop
trying
the
to take the
age.
votes, aren't
No,
they?
they're trying to drop the age to 16.
Yeah.
You know why? Because they think they get more votes.
I think they're just disillusioned because I know that I know actually a lot of young people agree that we need change, but
Then
couldn't
they
be
have
bothered
to
go
go
out
ahead
and
and do
vote.
something, you see,
Yeah.
by voting.
Yeah, that's
It'll
why-
never change out.
Yeah,
we
but the
need to-
propaganda is still going out. They still say right wing, left wing, reformer, right wing. You know, the propaganda is just going away. I'm just a normal person. You know, I do. You know, Queen and Country.
mean-
we opt that, but right wing, left wing.
I have been surprised at the amount of names we've been called.
Actually, I've been surprised
one
a lot
of
of
them-
names I haven't been called,
Well,
and 99% of the people have been lovely.
been
But
brilliant.
what I would want to say is the lady who walks down Queen's Road with the dyed red hair, who actually has called me a fascist when my granddaughter was in the garden. All right, come and have a chat with me.
Yeah.
I'll pay for the coffee.
Well, you know something.
Come and have a chat and tell me why I'm a fascist.
I tell you what they should have called you. They should have called you committed, caring, handsome.
Well, I wouldn't go down the forest
Yeah,
handsome.
I don't think that
Yeah.
was on her mind when she did it.
Yeah,
Actually.
but I got the
I don't
laughter
know.
lines.
Hey,
Yeah.
Tony, do you want me to put some adjectives against you? Huh?
No, if she's going to say that,
Yeah.
she can walk by my house as well.
Well,
There
I'm
you go.
getting tougher. I'm getting tougher
Knowledgeable.
now.
Yeah.
All right. When I
Caring about the community. That's what
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, both of us have lived in
I don't
this
know,
area all
that's
our
what I'd
lives,
like to-
and that's what we want.
We're all
We
part
want
of
the
one
best for
family,
this
right?
area.
Yeah.
All I see it doing is depreciating. I mean, the cutbacks, the money's not being spent or invested in this area.
Well,
Where's
they-
it been invested?
they
I
need to
don't
be
know.
accountable.
Bins.
All right.
Bins
Get the
are another
auditors
thing.
in. Get it. Find out where this money is going.
Bins are another thing.
Yeah.
You see, I mean, every other week now when it used to be every week. And you
Yeah.
think it's to save money. But what's it going to be next year? Is it going to be every 3
Well,
weeks? Every 4
everything
weeks?
goes up, but the services go down.
Down.
Yeah.
All right. And that is the message I say to you. Now, we can't change it. We can only change it if we get more MPs in there.
I'm sure
Right,
that
that's
the
it.
person who runs the council, her wages or their wages have gone up.
Well, I think we're going to be hitting a stone wall anyway, because Devon County Council, Exeter Council, you got that elite up the top. They get paid stupid amount of money. By the way, 3,000 people are on over 100 grand a year. You know, that's the councils, yeah. Well, it'd be hard to disrupt them because half of them don't work in the council.
Tell me
Right.
that again. I missed that. You talking about Devon County Council?
No,
I think
generally
that's
it's
all- generally
it's
all the
3,000
councils.
people get paid.
3,000
Yeah,
people.
right. You know,
Over 100,000 pounds.
yeah, and I know, and you know,
That's
we're
probably without
we're
retirement too, right?
Oh, they get a hefty pension out of that as well, yeah.
well. Look, I might mention it last week. I knew a guy who promoted his wife just before he got the on the pension. She went up 2 grades, and then when she left, she got a pension. Yeah, you know, but there's managers on top of managers, and managers on top of managers, and whether you like it or not, national health.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. I know, and if the hat fits, wear it. All right. Nightingale. Somebody came to my door today and asked for my poster in the window. All right. I gave them the poster. Okay, all right. He said the Nightingale is brilliant. It helps a lot of people, and I know it does.
What is the Nightingale, Neil?
You can go for X-rays and help out, and it's like
It's an extension from the hospital for
yeah,
the
and-
COVID.
Near
and-
the B&Q down there.
Yeah.
yeah, and it's brilliant. It's brilliant. But I also know, because I've done my research on it, right? You've got a manager, or somebody had a manager, and now they've got 5 managers, right? And I also know by a good source, and by the way, he left because they were on the phone 70% of the time. All right, it's overstaffed, overmanned. I know I'm going to get people saying it's not correct, right? But I know I know at the hospital, because I've other people work there. There's a hardcore, and I've been to hospital. They've looked after me, Tony. They looked after you.
They looked after me, yeah.
Yeah. All right. But there's also a lot of dead wood up there.
Yeah.
And people don't like that wood. I do. Right. And while we're on the subject, let's talk about the rumour about reform, because that's all I hear from Labour, are going to sell the NHS.
Oh, yeah. I mean, who'd want to buy the NHS, really, you know?
Well, I mean, what they're actually saying is they want to farm out the operations to the private industry, and even if it means flying people abroad to the hospitals out there, just to get those waiting lists down.
Well, it's in other words, what you're saying is it's all hands on deck. You know, we've got a tremendous waiting list. Doesn't matter where we get the capacity. You know, we've got to get the capacity because people are dying. You know, if we
Well,
don't,
yeah,
right?
you've got to
I mean,
keep the waiting list down.
we can't afford to say, well, we want to keep it within the family. You know, we've got to get every opportunity we can. We got to do it because
If any
Well,
way-
you know,
anyway to
we
keep
could
the
laugh.
list
I
down.
mean, they said sell the NHS, but who would buy it?
Yeah.
You know,
Who's
it's
got the
run
money?
down. It's not working, and they're on about throwing more money into the NHS.
Okay, so let's just say some positive things.
Yeah, we
okay?
should. Yeah, it's all not all negative.
I mean, one thing that is really great about Alphington, a couple positives, many positives, because I mean, you guys have lived here so long. You know, you've endured some of it. But Alphington Village Hall there is great. There's also an outreach through the church, I think, where they are going door to door.
Yeah.
You know, to get to know the residents, so that they, you know, if they're lonely people, they can know who they are. I mean, I think, you know, what I'd like to see when you guys are elected is an increased involvement in the
community
by the
itself.
community. You know, for example, litter teams. It's fun, you know, to go out there with a bag. Even graffiti teams.
Well,
you know?
no, I agree because that brings the community together. But I still go back to what happened to the dustmen, people sweeping the streets. Why have we got weeds growing everywhere? Why?
What happened to the guy who went
Right.
down with the old weekend?
No, and I put this to Exeter City Council. Why can't the community have the firehouse? Give me an answer. All right. And if you haven't got the answer, what are you going to do with that money? Square your books up again? What do you reckon?
Yeah, well, it's frustrating to see it there, just empty.
Mm-hmm.
I know somebody sort of criticised me the other time for saying there's a school in there. There's not a school in there. That's moved. It is empty. It was changed over for one thing, and that is for the age concern, a drop-in centre, even workshops and that.
Yeah.
That is what it's designed for now. Whoever buys it, what are they going to use it for?
Yeah.
And
I
once
mean,
you sell it, that's it.
The thing
it's gone.
is, everybody looks to, you know, Big Brother to solve everybody's problems, and I'd like to see a lot more involvement from the community. You know, like our road. You know, we've got a WhatsApp group. Everybody knows each other, and it doesn't matter if you have a Labor poster up or Lib Dem or Reform. We all get along with each other, and you know, we ought to foster those type of community.
Yeah, I mean, I don't
organizations.
know in other streets, but Queen's Road, and that's where we live. I'm not hiding my address. Queen's Road, the lady with red hair knows that. That we've got all people live there and all types who live there, but we're all a community. And, you know, everybody in that road, they know I'm a Reform candidate, but the respect they give me and the respect I give them is brilliant, Tony.
You know what,
Yeah.
Neil? There are a lot of people on Queens Road who are Labor supporters that are voting for you. You know?
Well, like I said, I'm not here to change. Well, I am here to change your mind, actually. I'm here to tell you that we need change. 42% voted in Alphington and Carrick. Tony, how many in yours?
I think it was about 38. I'm not sure.
It's 37,
Well,
actually.
it's 37, 38. But the fact is, they took the time to vote.
Yeah, but
And
is it
The
laziness?
rest of them didn't. I just think it's an attitude of the day.
Yeah.
I can't be bothered. But the way I look at it is, people died for the right for you to vote, and if you don't vote, there'll be no change.
Yeah, but is it because people don't know, or people just think it's such a small thing? You know, council, Devon County Council. You know, the more we can change, the more councillors we get in, the more we can change this. And going back to you, I don't care if you're Labour, Conservative. We need to change. This isn't working. It's
I think
broken.
people are seeing that. I mean, there's someone that I know along Queens Road, and he's a Moroccan immigrant. He's a Muslim.
Yeah.
Really nice man. And he said he's voting for Neil Stevens.
Yeah.
Also,
I don't care who you
the guy
are.
across the street is 28 years old. Same person.
Yeah, I don't care who you are, what religion. I don't care anything. All I care about is we need to change this establishment, right? And we have to start in small
know it.
ways.
Yeah,
right.
they know it. Everybody knows
Of course they do. But also, I'm not after the 42% who voted. I'm after the 58% who don't or
Yeah.
can't be bothered. This is your community, guys.
Yeah.
This is where you live.
Well, there are several people, a few people anyway who didn't vote before. I know 3, for example. I mean, I don't have a lot of friends like you, but there are 3 that never.
I might
voted
not have
before.
many after this.
They're voting for you, Neil. Okay.
Well,
And then there's 2 more that one was voting Green, and the other one was voting Labor, and they're voting for you. So it's people are waking up. I think there's going to be a great.
yeah, I
great
mean,
result.
I think the only way you're going to find out is to vote for us.
well, yeah, I mean, we
mean,
all
that's a,
understand that it's not working, and if it's not broken, why fix it? Well, guys, this is broken. Right, we need to fix it. All right, and we need your votes. That 58%. All right, 58%. I think figures 1,955 people voted for Labour, 1,700. I could go on and on with facts and figures. Facts and figures. Right, reform is here. It ain't going away. All right, it ain't going to go away. All right, and we will keep plugging this every Tuesday. I think,
Yeah.
Rob.
I think what you're saying also is the current status quo is more tax. It's just more tax, more cost, more waste, less services. That's the cycle that we're in, right?
Well, it
And,
is at the moment, yeah.
Yeah,
But nobody seems to be accountable for it.
yeah,
It's like we seem to allow it to happen.
yeah.
Right, we allow it to happen because what? Because we're people who are very mannered. I don't know, Tom. Why do we let it
Well,
happen?
I just think it's got to stop.
Yeah.
And like Rob says, I mean,
Well, it won't
isn't
stop
going to
unless
stop
we
at the moment
change.
Unless you change it, exactly.
It won't change. So
Well-
you have to get out and vote. Thursday, if you can't get out and vote, ring me or give me a text, email. I'll come and pick you up. I don't care. Right? You need to get out and vote. All right? 7 o'clock in the morning till I think 10 o'clock at night. All right? I've only got one vehicle, but I can get more people to pick you up. All right? And I won't charge you for fuel. All right? But if you want help, I'll get you out. It doesn't mean I'm picking up people who are not going to vote for reform. All right? So we have to be sensible here. All right? But guys, 42% only voted.
And I think it probably goes down every vote, doesn't it?
Well, I don't know. I think they lose interest or they can't be bothered because nothing changes. It's the same status quo. Let's change it. Let's vote reform. That's all I can say to you. You got to vote. And Rob, I look forward to next week. Tony, thank you. You'll be coming on next week as well with guests.
Thank you guys
All right.
for telling us how things used to be and how things will be.
But it's
when
not
you're
how
elected.
it used to be. It's how we want it to be now.
Yeah, and I'm sorry if it's passion. I'm passionate. You're passionate. Right? We're all passionate. These girls behind me, I wish you could see how much passionate they are. Yeah? I mean, I've had to stop one from coming on because she would swear, and I said, you can't, only because she's that frustrated. We will bring her on, but we
Thank
have
you
to
very
make
much,
sure.
guys.
Yeah, Rob, thank you
Yeah.
ever so much for your time. I
See you next
appreciate
week.
it. Thank you,
Tony,
sir.
thank you very much.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah, enjoyed that.
Is it finished, is it?
I've been told not to talk.
Well, congratulations, guys, and
Yeah, I never
thank
get it
you-
right, do I?
Thank you for
And
the
we haven't finished,
opportunity
Rob, yet.
to do this with you guys.
I appreciate
hope
it.
I
You're going to
feel-
get me told off, Rob.
It'll be.
Rob, you're going to get me told off
Why is that?
because you're still on.
You're still live.
Oh,
No, I've enjoyed it, though. I've
Yeah,
enjoyed
very
chatting.
Well,
good, yeah.
I'd like more questions coming
thank
in
you
now.
for the opportunity. it's going to be a great result.
Yeah. I'd just like more questions coming in.
Yeah. I mean, the one.
You're good.
Oh, they can see us just being
It
normal
doesn't
people.
matter, does it? I'll try and work out what she's saying now. Oh. Well, there we go. We're still live, so
That's good. So
this is really good.
You're going to come on next week, aren't you?
Yeah. I'll come on. All right, that's it.
Okay.
No, the one with flower pots. Is
You
essentially-
got to remember when we sit here laughing.
What did we do wrong ending this thing? It was just.
Talking.
Well, also tell us about technology problems.
So it
Two
didn't,
big
it
problems.
didn't go live on
Didn't go
Facebook
live.
until about 15, 20 minutes in.
Yeah.
Oh.
It did.
Was it
If you
on
look at
TikTok?
they're both on there.
Was it on TikTok?
It was on TikTok.
Okay.
Why didn't it go live?
So your Restream account.
Yeah.
When it went on, partway through it rejected the Facebook account, so we managed to log it back in and it came back on. But
So how much did we lose then on that?
You didn't live, but when you look on the feed, you can actually see both videos. So it's almost like when it came back on, you've got two on the feed.
Doesn't matter. I say there's a glitch. Doesn't matter, does it?
So it's all
Shall
on
we
Facebook.
delete one then? Because
Well, I don't know if you got the first chance. It's
I
up
think,
to you.
I think we just need to see.
Let's
Let
see
it,
what
let
it
it
comes up
upload
with.
and see what it comes
Yeah.
out.
Let's just go with the flow. They all know we're not professionals.
And then at the end here, that wasn't very good. What happened?
There is, no, it's fine.
Well, I
That's-
wasn't clear. I mean, we were live, but we weren't live, or
It's because there's a delay.
no, there's a delay.
a huge delay.
So
when
were
we
we
end
s-
it here with you,
I know. So were we
there's
on?
still about 20, 30 seconds of you guys still live.
Still live.
Okay,
But we
so
can't
gotta-
stand it like this.
So
You
next
just need to
time-
sit there and just say nothing like you did last
Well,
We can edit
we
it.
can keep on talking. I guess, couldn't we?
Okay.
Yeah, but
out
then
of
we
10, good or
could-
bad.
Yeah.
Never going to be perfect. Truth. I'm
I
too
think
loud.
last week's was much better.
Much better.
Much better.
Much better. I reckon. I'm gonna.
Because
Fine.
Merle and Ray,
No.
or what?
No, I'd probably say maybe a 6/6.5.
Why?
It wasn't
I think it was a
flowing,
mixture
maybe,
of
right, or
things.
what?
Yeah,
Right.
be straight talking.
I
Yeah.
think you didn't.
What did I do
it
wrong?
Didn't, no, it
No,
didn't.
no.
It didn't flow.
I think the
It didn't
technical
flow, it was
issue
kinda
was
jumpy.
off.
Tony, you were really good. You were very relaxed, actually. I was very impressed with Tony. And what you said was engaging, short.
Well, the
and
guy,
straight to the point.
well,
You
unless
were
that was
straight
you,
to the
Jess,
point.
you know, but the guy who said about the drug dealing and flower pots, that's a community
I was
policeman
too
issue.
loud, too much.
And like I said, they must be aware of it if Rob's aware of it, but it's not something that
genuine question.
you can't exactly walk up and say,
But I'm
"Ugh."
trying to get them out to vote.